Harts, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thanks for having me, I appreciate it.
You've got this new album coming out, Smoke, Fire, Hope, Desire.
That's right.
In which you play all the instruments on it. Which instrument, when you were younger, which instrument did you pick up first?
Drums. Yeah, I started playing drums in high school. Friends were getting into music and stuff at the time. They started playing guitars and stuff, and I kind of wanted to figure out a way to get into music, and I thought maybe drums may look the easiest and the more fun, so I kind of got into drums first, and then from there, as I fell into love with music, I branched out into guitar and all those kind of things as well.
To date, you've released an EP and an album. With the second album coming out, what do you know now that you didn't know when you were recording the EP?
I'm a lot better at songwriting now. I think with time and with practice, I've kind of really improved both my production game as well as my actual songwriting and my musicianship level in songwriting. So I've really tried to focus on bringing out the best of that and trying to really expand and grow as an artist and try and create something unique with this album. So I think that's something that's always improving for me, and I think with time it's only going to get better. And this album, I really improved on the production side, really. I learned a lot more about producing and things like that from trial and error and figuring out things on my own. So I think the production on this album is a lot better than the EP and the previous album as well.
Yeah. Smoke, Fire, Hope, Desire are all tracks on the new album.
Yeah.
Collectively, it's the title. What's the significance?
That was a title I got out of the lyrics from the intro song, the first track, where there's smoke, there's fire, where there's hope, there's desire. It was kind of a line that I was playing with, kind of meaning like, where there's trouble, there's always hope if you seek it, and there's always a desire to bring out hope in troublesome situations. So that was the general message or context for the whole album after I had that line. So I wanted to call it Smoke, Fire, Hope, Desire, and I had little interludes and stuff like that, kind of piecing together the narrative and the seamlessness of the album. So I renamed some of the interludes Hope or Fire or Smoke, Desire. So I kind of wanted to make it a contextual thing, so like that.
Yeah. On your Facebook page, I saw a little video on how you constructed the song Power.
Yeah.
Were all the songs pieced together like that in the studio, or were some written acoustically?
No, all of them were done like that. So I'd start with like an idea somewhere, like whether that's a recording of a drum track like Power was, or maybe it's a guitar loop like Peculiar was made that way. And I just really like try to hone a groove or try to hone a core, a bass of something, and then use that and develop a song around that. It's a lot similar to a lot of hip hop producers and how they literally writing beats like every day, and then they get collaborators in and they make those beats into songs. I think that was something that changed in the process of making this album. I've kind of more focused on the guitar as well as a center point, focal point for the whole record, and that's something that I was inspired to do with the last EP as well. So it's continuing on from that, but I really wanted to change the way I make music and just try and be a little more creative. So it all stemmed from a core idea, and whether that core idea was a groove like Peculiar and Power, or maybe some songs started as a lyric as well, like I'd be jotting down stuff and then I'll figure out ways, all right, how do I turn that into a song essentially. So they all started in different ways.
Yeah, you're known as a skilled guitarist, and there are some ripping solos on the album, but
thanks.
Not on every track of the album.
Yeah.
It doesn't dominate the album in a Guitar Hero way.
Yeah.
What was your thought process in regards to that?
That was my thought process. I didn't want to make the album a Guitar Hero album only. Yeah, there's Guitar Hero moments on it, and there's always going to be with what I do, because that's, I feel, my strength as a musician. But as I'm developing as a songwriter, producer, and all those other things, and even a better musician on drums, bass and keys, and vocally as well, I'm starting to be more well-rounded as a musician, and I really wanted to focus on a well-rounded album. So there is moments of guitar hero-ness, because I think that's obviously what people know me as, and that's what people want to see and stuff. But I didn't want to just focus on that or just have a guitar record. So that's why there's a lot of flavors and a lot of different sounds and vibes to the record than just guitar.
Let's talk about some of the gear and how you created some of the sounds.
Yeah.
The main guitar, was that your Squire that you used on the album?
Yeah, there's a few ones that I use. The main Squire Affinity Strat. I also have another backup, but it's a Squire Affinity Strat as well. And I have a Fender Pink Paisley Strat. So I use the Fender a lot more in previous material and the previous albums. This one, I'm pretty sure I only exclusively use the two Squires. And when I record and particularly when I run it through my rig and things like that, and I always really play on the neck pickup of the Strat, you can't really tell the difference. Like, it's not a big thing, difference between the Fender and the Squire on record. Live, there's a bit of a difference, but on record, there's not much. So, you know, I can interchange guitars and it wouldn't really sound too differently. The way I play doesn't change. So that was the main guitars used on the record.
Yeah. There's some great guitar synth sounding textures in there and riffs. Peculiar, Power and Hope, that guitar synth kind of sound. Is that all out of the same effects box, or?
Similar things. So I create a lot of the effects from multi-effects units, and I just make patches. Like I use a lot of Zoom multi-effects units, and then I go into it and I use whatever they have to create sounds out of that. And that's particularly with the bass sounds as well. So like all the bass is done through a guitar as well. It's all synthetic guitar bass. Because my bass guitar was broken at the time, and I just started doing it that way. But I got a new one since then. But I think a lot of the synth patches, I use a lot of MIDI controlling things as well. So like the guitar signal is converted to a MIDI signal, and then that's used to trigger virtual instruments within the DAW and things like that. So I use a lot of those to play keyboard parts, horn parts, any sort of virtual instrument. That way I can play through my guitar. I can also do it through the keys as well, but I'm just a little bit better at guitar, so it's easier for me to record on those things through the guitar, and obviously with the aid of technology to do so. So yeah.
What about the keyboard sounds? Are they analog synths or?
No, they're all digital. I actually don't. I have a Korg R3, which is a virtual analog. It's still digital, but I use a lot of that for some of the sounds, and I use a lot of virtual instrument sounds as well. But I would probably say a lot of it was digital. Yeah, I'm not so into analog. Like I kind of grew up in the digital age and stuff, so I guess I'm a digital guy. You know, I do everything digitally.
String arrangements. You trained in that? Did you study music?
I didn't. I studied music in high school, but I wasn't good at theory or anything like that. So I'm not trained in that way. But growing up, listening to a lot of music that my dad used to play around the house, from classical to jazz to funk to pop to everything, my ear was kind of trained towards knowing what fits with one another, and I got a lot of ear training just from listening to music. I think that's something that's natural. I didn't study it. I didn't go out of my way to orchestrate string parts and stuff like that. I just kind of found chords that worked, or found intervals and notes and things like that fit with what I was doing, and a lot of experimentation over the years. I've gotten to a point where it's kind of, now I feel comfortable stepping out of the box and creating chords that I don't think is the norm for pop music, or is definitely not the norm for rock music and things like that. So I try to step out of the box and create different chord inversions, different chords entirely, different chord progressions and stuff like that as well. And it's just based on going off my ear, so I don't have any training.
Yeah. Were you referencing any particular albums sonically for the overall sound that you wanted?
No, not that I can't remember that I was going for a particular thing. All I was thinking in my head was I wanted to make it a little more groove and beat heavy, like as in a hip hop album would come across. I wanted to bring those flavors into the the process of making rock music and the process of making funk and pop and everything that I've already done before. So I wanted to blend hip hop elements and stuff like that together with that. That was the only real production point I was going for. I didn't have a reference of an album that did it. I have reference of artists that did it, obviously like Prince and things like that. They were able to blend everything that I love about music together and you know, make it into something that was their own. I wanted to follow that kind of mentality and try and blend everything that I like about music and try and make it into my own. But I didn't really reference anything for that.
Prince was also a fantastic bass player.
Yeah.
And there's a particularly funky bass sound on the track Unfamiliar.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that from the guitar too?
That's a guitar bass, yeah, yeah. So it's a guitar bass running through my bass emulation like patch that I created on the Zoom, and then I put an auto wah kind of effect on that to, you know, trigger it every time you hit a slap note or something like that, and that's how I played that part. But yeah, that was something that I really want to step up as well, my bass game, because being a guitarist, naturally you can kind of shift into bass guitar pretty easily if you know how a bass instrument is supposed to work within the context of a song. So I really wanted to make the bass as melodic as possible while holding down the groove as well, and that's something that Prince was amazing at, and that's something that I was inspired to strive to get to that as well.
Yeah. You make no secret of your Prince and Hendrix influences in your music. I mean, we were all devastated by the loss of Prince, but for you it was quite personal. How did you find out about his passing?
I found out literally waking up to my phone and like 60 missed calls. Like I found out the same time everybody else did through the news, and it was shock. I'm still kind of in shock about it. Like I don't feel as though he's left. You know, I still refer to him as he's still here, or you know, he's still living. But I was shocked. I was still shocked today. I'm still shocked today. There was no real words I could say at the point, because he gave me such a tremendous insight into his life, as well as a confidence boost, as well as encouragement into my own music. He saved me at a time that I was pretty much quit music because I had enough of the music industry and things like that. It wasn't working for me, I thought. So he added so much value to my life that I was just glad and blessed to have the opportunity that he did that for me, you know, before he passed, or even did that for me in his lifetime, or spent, you know, years of his own lifetime helping me out, because that was the last couple of years he was helping me out behind the scenes. So it was an amazing opportunity, and I was grateful for that as soon as I heard. I was very shocked about the death, but you know, it's still shocking today, and I don't know, I think I'm still just a little bit processing it. It's very numb to me yeah.
What's the most important thing that you learned from knowing him?
There's a lot, but one of the main things that I really took away immediately from the experience was just because I was a multi-instrumentalist at the time and I was doing everything, he kind of challenged me and said, just because you can do everything doesn't mean you have to. And I didn't really understand at the time, but talking to him further, he kind of really wanted me to focus on the guitar as an instrument, because he thought that was such a strong point and that was such a point of focus. And you know, in the music industry and people's attention spans today, things like that, they need a focus point. If you try to dilute the message with all sorts of other things, people will get confused. As soon as I started focusing on being a guitar player, that's when everything just translated, everything just worked. Like, you know, people understood it, people understood what the project was doing and things like that, and it really branded the whole image and everything together. And he saw that straight away, and that was something that he had to go through in his own career, so he was passing on advice to me. He always wanted me to be that multi-instrumentalist and expand, but just not at the time. And I didn't understand at the time, but now I do, and it's completely, everything's falling into place because of that advice he gave me there. But there was so much, like, he gave me a lot of advice about the music industry, owning my copyright, which I still own today, and the value of that, and things like that. He just really helped me out in really every aspect of the music industry.
Yeah. So having completed this album now, you turn to transferring that to a live situation.
Yeah, that's
is it
the
a
hard
tricky
part.
album to perform live?
It's going to be very tricky, yeah. I don't even know how I'm going to do it, but I never think about that while I'm making the albums. I don't think, oh man, this is going to be too hard to do, so I shouldn't do it. I want to create the album and go as far out there as I can, regardless of whether it can be even pulled off live. I don't know. All I know is that I'm wanting to do more on stage now. I want to play guitar and I want to be the guitarist, but I want to do more. I want to actually, maybe play bass guitar as well and take off the guitar and start playing bass, or maybe go behind the drums, play drums for a song. Really showcase what goes on when I actually create the music, because that's something that people haven't seen before, and something that's exciting and people want to see it. They tell me that they want to see it, so it'd be cool if I can develop a show where I can actually literally go between instruments and have a band that kind of works around that and works around me that way. That's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm hoping to bring with the album tour. It's going to take a lot of planning and a lot of coordination to figure out how you do that, because there's so much tracks on the record in terms of the actual instrument tracks that make up a song. I haven't thought about it at this time of saying this right now, but hopefully by the time the album comes around, I've figured it out. So yeah.
Right, Harts, good luck with the album, and thanks for your time.
Thanks for your time, appreciate it.